The SNES Classic was just announced this morning, and it seems like Nintendo knocked it out of the park. Everybody is happy with the selection of games. People are generally happy with the price. People are more happy that there is a longer cord this time. But what do Jake and I think of it? I have Jake here with me. Hi, Jake.
Hello, Gabe.
Hello, Gabe. Best intro ever. Yeah, we're so awkward when we're not in the same room. But yeah, SNES Classic happened. Releasing on September 29th for $80. Comes with 21 games as opposed to the 30 that the NES Classic had. But, you know, this one has a couple of new things that we'll get into here in a little bit. But just overall, without getting into too much detail, are you happy for this? Will you be getting one?
I might actually get one. I didn't get an NES Classic, but I might get one of these. I grew up on the SNES. That was like the first system I really played with Zach. So this is kind of my starter pack for video games. And I think perhaps, well, the games are awesome, and I think that I, for the most part, agree with their selection. We can get into details of that a little bit later. But I think the most glaring difference for me is that this comes with two controllers. So this is more of a multiplayer-focused experience, and for that $10 increase, I feel like that's totally worth it. You get less games, but there are kind of almost, I don't want to say higher quality, because I know there's NES games that people love and are near and dear to people's hearts.
All right,
but
fine.
they are.
All right, you don't wait. You don't want to say it? I'll say it. They are higher quality. Like they
okay,
are.
and they're bigger and they're longer. But to me, the coolest thing is that this is a multiplayer system now, so you can relive those magical moments with somebody else sitting next to you. And although I'm not the biggest Star Fox fan, they included a brand new game in it too, which is pretty dang cool.
Yeah, so just to touch on the controller thing first, right? Now you get two of them. The cable is longer. That was like a big like point of contention for a lot of people. It was 3 feet for the NES Classic, and now you have 5 feet cables for your controller, so you don't have to be like sitting like right up on it. You know, I would have loved like maybe a 10-foot cord. I mentioned in another video, maybe even like Bluetooth would have been cool, but I think that there is some like nostalgic feeling just to like having the wire and
right, to like curl up right on the floor like next to the TV. Although now most people have giant TVs, so that's a little daunting.
You know, the other notable addition that you just mentioned, Star Fox 2, a game that was never previously released. The original Star Fox was pretty cool, so who knows how Star Fox 2 is. Interesting tidbit that we didn't know right away that we do know now, and I didn't even mention this in the other video, but to play Star Fox 2, you have to at least finish the first stage of Star Fox 1. So that's not like you can't just jump into Star Fox 2 right away. They need you to be a Star Fox veteran of sorts before you do play.
Right. You have a little bit of an intro to Star Fox. Another thing that just popped in my head is, I mentioned this in comment force, I think, where I saw a picture of an Uber driver with an NES Classic in the back, like attached to the back of the passenger seat, so his riders could, or his patrons could play the NES while he drove them around. Now you could do this with two people and have them like play Mario Kart in the back while you're driving around, which is exceptionally cool.
Loser has to pay the fare.
There you go. Brilliant.
Yeah. So that would be fun, but you know, something that a lot of people are talking about is the fact that there are fewer games this time. 9 fewer games, to be exact. And a little bit later in the video here, Jake and I are going to have 3 games that we each think would have been a nice addition, and we'll get into that here in a moment. But for now, what do you think about the fact that this costs $10 more? Yes, you get the extra controller, but you get 9 fewer games.
But you get one brand new game. And I think, like I mentioned before, the games here are, I think, bigger. They take longer to beat. They're more fleshed out. So while there's not as wide of a selection, I feel like the selection may be better. Like the games, you'll spend more time in each game. Like whereas in the NES Classic, you might have flipped through the games just for nostalgic factor. I feel like these games, you'll actually, a lot of people will sit down and play. Like Mario RPG, I feel like a lot of people skipped over, especially the younger generation. Like I've played it for like maybe an hour or two, but never really put time into it. So going back and actually trying to play that and beat it legitimately, or, you know, replaying Super Mario World or Link to the Past or things like that, Donkey Kong Country. I think these are games that are more than just a nostalgic factor. Like they're actually solid games that you could go back and sit down and play through. So I mean, would it be, I think if this came out with 21 games without the NES Classic setting the precedent, nobody would care. But because they already have the 30 games, then they're like double thinking and overthinking it. But I think you get an extra controller, you get a brand new game, you get better fleshed out games. I think it's a great deal still.
Yeah, and Zach specifically mentioned in the reveal video that we made, he specifically mentioned Mario RPG for you because you know it's a game that you talk about every once in a while, and you never really played much of it. So this would be
I've never played Link to the Past either. I've never played Link to the Past either.
Man,
so I mean, there's
best game ever made in my humble opinion. Obviously, it's an opinion, but
yeah, but I mean, yeah. There's games, and I mean, I'm not super young, but like this is my intro system. So again, like there's really good games that just I never got a chance to play. So it's really cool that they're bringing it back, and it's also a really cool like set piece that's like a novelty item since they're doing another limited like holiday release run of them.
So out of this list that we have here, and hopefully you have it in front of you, if not, pulled it up very quickly. Let's each pick the 3 games that we're most excited to play out of this list here.
Okay, I'll go first. So for me, I would say probably Super Mario RPG and Link to the Past, because I've heard rave reviews about both of them and never have really put time into them, or if I did, I was too young and didn't really understand what the heck was going on. Maybe Metroid, because I never played that either. I've beaten like Yoshi's Island. I've beaten Super Mario World with Zach. I've played Mario Kart. So like those ones are great games, but I've already played through them. So yeah, there's games that to me are almost brand new. So maybe those 3 are probably my top 3, because they're kind of classic Nintendo games that you got to go back in your backlog and play through.
Yeah, and we did something similar for the video with Zach and I, but I did want to get your perspective. And over there I said, hey, I've beat A Link to the Past like 20 times in my life, so I probably, I'll play it like at some point, yeah, but that's not gonna be the first game I'm gonna rush to. I think honestly the first thing I'm gonna rush to is Star Fox, just so I can unlock Star Fox 2. So like
that's all about.
Yeah, and Super Punch-Out I never really played, so that's another one for me. And Earthbound. Earthbound has like such a rich heritage of like being one of like the best RPGs like almost ever made.
I don't know.
Yeah, so that's one that I want to go and play, because I did play it, but I don't remember beating it. So I think that one would be a good one for me.
I feel like I feel like that's a very Gabe type game for you to play. I don't know. It seems a little bit too boring for me to get into, but I'll try it out. But that definitely seems like a Gabe game. And then I think it's funny that you mentioned Punch Out, because you're so into ARMS, and then you go back and play Punch Out. You need to see the heritage of where ARMS came from. The birthplace of ARMS is Punch Out for sure. So my question is, and I think we have all thought about this or talked about this, does this step on the toes of Switch Virtual Console at all, or does this signal that they're going to be delaying Virtual Console later into 2018 at all? Like, is this an indicator?
And I'm really glad you brought that up, because that's where I was going next with this. What does this mean for Virtual Console? And I think we can safely say that this means that there is no way we see Virtual Console in this year, not in this calendar year.
Yeah,
no way.
It's a little sad, but yeah.
That would completely be stepping on the toes of this, and you would hope that once Virtual Console does eventually gonna come out, it's gonna have GameCube games, something that obviously has nothing to do with this. But I still think that they're gonna want these. They're gonna want to push as many of these as possible, as many of them as they can make. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like it's like a different ballpark sort of, because this is more of a set piece and like the classic feel. You get to play it on the SNES feeling controllers and things like that. But then the Switch has its own pros to it, like the portability. You can play it anywhere. It's like got longer battery life, all that stuff. It has its own set of pros for sure. So I feel like they're 2 separate things, but yeah, they can definitely step on each other's toes.
Man, I wish I could give this person credit, but I saw a tweet that said, "Hey, why not just put all of these games on a cartridge and sell that for Switch?" For $60. That way you don't have to worry about hardware and stuff like that. I mean, and like I thought that was a super interesting idea, because we do know that this is a limited, like more of a novelty item, like you mentioned. Like this is here for people that are like way more like nostalgic, and they're gonna go out and buy this thing. But I would have loved a cartridge of all of these games for Switch. That would have been amazing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like it would have been really cool, but I feel like it wouldn't have sold as well as like Virtual Console, or because like people like expect like a game to be like something new, and like when you put like a retro pack together, it's really cool. But I feel like putting it on the SNES Classic Mini, and or Virtual Console kind of like separates it from the mainline Switch games, and I think that it would sell better. So I think they did it right that way.
I still think that Virtual Console's happening. Obviously, it's just not this year, because I think that they're gonna want this to be the focus. I mean, and that makes perfect sense. Like, just like business wise for them, like $80 a pop for these things. I don't know how much it's gonna cost them to manufacture it, but you gotta imagine it's not a whole lot, especially since they pretty much had like a trial run for this already with the NES Classic, and that did like super well for them. I do anticipate these things being sold out. I said this in the solo video I made, the update one. If you want one of these things, get it as soon as you can. Like, do not wait, because these things will like end up going on eBay for like $150 or more dollars, like the NES Classic was.
Right, for sure. And I think that the Virtual Console will come more along the lines of like online next year when that's fully fleshed out. Another thing I wonder is, do they ever continue this? Like, once Virtual Console comes out, are the classic minis or mini classic editions dead? Like, I really want a mini GameCube. Like, I think that'd be so cool. Or like a mini N64. Like, those would be so cool.
I had that thought, right? Like, okay, look, there's a pattern. Last year they did the NES Classic for like a holiday like thing. I mean, it didn't come out right on holiday, but that's what it was leading towards. And even this is coming September. It's leading towards like this being like a big like holiday product for them, right?
Right. Well, they specifically said that's what they did with the NES, was make it like a holiday novelty item.
Yeah. See, and then they can do it with GameCube, and then they can do it with Game Boy, and then they can do it with Game Boy Advance, and then, like,
okay, that's pushing it.
How many more years can they do this? Like,
well, I mean, I think they could definitely do N64 and GameCube, even if they had them on Virtual Console, because I feel like, again, like you mentioned, like, this is a different audience of people who, most of the people who are buying it are people who are buying it for the nostalgic factor. It's not like young kids buying it because they want to go back and play these games. I think most people want to buy it for the collecting or for the nostalgic factor. So I think they could, even if they had Virtual Console next year and it was fully fleshed out up through GameCube games, I think they could still do an N64 Classic and a mini and a GameCube mini classic, and I think they would still sell well.
I wonder how a Game Boy one would do, like, truly, because
a Game Boy, like a mini Game Boy.
Yes, I know that sounds silly, especially because we have a Switch, but man,
maybe
like just sell me a Game Boy Advance again, but with like all these games on it. Like, that would be great.
I do miss my bright yellow Game Boy Color.
Yeah, that was really sweet. So now that we've talked about the games that are on there, we've talked about what we think in general. I think we're both really into it here. Let's each throw 3 games out there that are not on the list, but we would love to see on the list. And we'll go. I'll do one, then you do one. We'll do 3 each. Okay. I'm gonna start off with the most glaring omission. I could have when we knew that this was coming for a while now. I would have bet money that this game was going to be on there. Chrono Trigger. Yeah. Why is it not on there? Oh my god. I don't know. It must have been some like licensing. I don't even know, because Secret of Mana is there, so they could have probably put Chrono Trigger on there, but
maybe they just didn't want to step on Mario RPG's toes. I don't know. A pride thing.
We do have a few RPGs on here. We have Final Fantasy.
That's true.
We have Mario RPG. We have Earthbound. So we have a decent amount. But yeah, Chrono Trigger, one that's like a glaring omission to me. So what's one for you?
I think it's interesting that they decided to double down on Star Fox, which I understand Star Fox 2 is brand new, and they decided to double down on Kirby games, but they didn't double down on like anything like other games really, except Mario, because obviously there's multiple Mario games. But I think that Donkey Kong Country 2 is kind of weird to me that they put Donkey Kong Country. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like the first one, but I feel like, at least in my world that I've experienced, people talk about Donkey Kong Country 2 more than 1. So I think it's interesting that they decided to go with the original instead of Donkey Kong Country 2, because that, I feel like, is talked about more, at least in my bubble of the universe.
I will have you know that the internet agrees with you. So like that's the other big game that like people are saying, hey, why isn't this one on there? Like, this one is better than Donkey Kong Country. Why isn't Country 2 on there?
I guess they just want to stick with the original.
Yeah. That's probably it. For my second game that I would have loved on there, and we made a video like saying what games we would like to see on this thing a few months ago. Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Final Fantasy is already represented on the list with Final Fantasy 3, but Mystic Quest is like, at least in my heart, it's the first RPG I ever played, and it gets a lot of flack for being like, hey, baby's first RPG, because it's so simplistic, super simplistic. But I still have fond memories of that game, so I kind of wish that was on there. But again, Final Fantasy 3, that is a good one. I wish it would have been like Final Fantasy like maybe 4. I think I would have preferred that, but 3 is a good one as well.
And there are still babies being born, so you could introduce them if there's Mystic Quest on there.
Your next game, man. I wish this was on there so bad.
Yeah, and that is Turtles in Time, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, which is a fun beat 'em up game, and I don't think I've ever beaten it. I think there was multiple times where me and Zach sat down and tried to push through it, and then had to stop, and eventually turned off the system and didn't get through it. But
yeah, see, games like that are tough because again, I don't know how the licensing stuff works, but yeah, that and like the Spider-Man game, I remember it had like Venom was in the game, but Carnage was like was it called Maximum Carnage? I believe it was called Maximum
something
Carnage.
like that.
Did you ever play that?
No, I did not.
Yeah,
my mom probably shielded us from those games when we were that little.
But yeah, Turtles in Time, super cool. Like talk about a classic game, like Turtles eating the pizza, riding those skateboards, just beating up. What's the name of the Foot Clan? Am I getting this right? Mm-hmm. I'm not the biggest into Ninja Turtles, but that game was very, very fun. Speaking of very fun games, though, Mario's on here again a couple of times, but Mario All Stars, some would say the best game of the SNES's library, just because it has so many great Mario games in it.
Yeah.
Why is Mario All Stars isn't on here, man? That's surprising.
I feel like it's a great game, but I feel like it's kind of like cheating the system. You're putting a collection on a collection of games.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. But playing Mario 3 is always fun. Super Mario Brothers 3, sorry. That's always fun when given a chance. And
yeah, I wonder if they just
Mario
want to stick with pure like SNES games and not have older collections.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's a great game, but yeah, I think they might have just not wanted to dip back into it.
All right, so your last one.
My last one is kind of just a fun one. Earthworm Jim. It's regarded as pretty good. And I remember playing it a little bit, but not really getting into it. And it's just like a wacky game that, like, when you compare it to Mario, it's just like, how does this fit in at all? But it's a fun game. Whipping your earthworm head around was pretty fun. So I think that'd be another fun platformer to have. But overall, like, besides, like, I never played Chrono Trigger, but I know it's super highly regarded, and then Donkey Kong Country 2, like, those are the only two that I feel like are really omitted and missing. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with their list.
Yeah, their list is great, and obviously, if we lived in a perfect world, it would be 30 games, just like it was for NES. But you make a great point that a lot of these games are going to take you a little bit longer to beat, especially like some of the RPGs on here. Kirby Superstar is actually like really fun as well. So. A lot of good stuff, and again, they included the best game of all time, in my opinion, with A Link to the Past.
So, threw Gabe a bone.
Yeah. Overall, great impressions from everybody. Everybody seems to be super into it. I feel a type of way that UK gets pre-orders for this and America doesn't, but that's how it was with the NES as well. We didn't get to pre-order. We just had to go find one. UK, they got to pre-order, but pre-orders ran out already, unfortunately.
They're more civilized over there.
Yeah, but they sold out super, super quickly, like in half an hour or something like that. So
yeah, that's crazy.
I guess we can't complain too much. But there you go. Those are our more in-depth, lengthy thoughts on the Super Nintendo Classic Mini, whatever you want to call it. They call it SNES Classic. That's what they call it. So that's what we'll go with here. A lot of great games. $10 more, as I predicted. I figured this is going to cost more than the other one.
Yeah, but not by much, especially with the brand new game and extra controller. I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, I'm not worried at all. I really want one. I'm going to try my best to get one of these day one. Man, some streams on some of these games would be amazing, though. Like, I would love to freaking stream Star Fox 2. I'm just so enamored with
hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, future videos, maybe, possibly.
Yeah, like, man, a game that has never been out before. We're getting that. Like, that to me is super, super cool. Hopefully it is to you guys as well. Let us know what you guys think about the SNES Classic in the comments below. We will, of course, be taking that stuff or comment for us. Maybe have an SNES dedicated one if we have.
Yeah, and let us know what games you wish were on there, if you have any classic favorites.
Yeah, when we were sitting here, like, trying to think of the three, like, there's games that I loved. I always mention, like, Secret of Evermore and stuff like that. There's games that I loved that nobody really, like, played. So if you guys have anything
Zach
like
was
that,
on here, he would push Uniracers like he always does.
Yeah. So, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the notification bell to join the notification squad so that you don't miss a video. We have a bunch of cool stuff coming for you guys this week. I am personally working on this, like, arms thing that hopefully is pretty cool. But that's a video for another time. You guys have been great. My name has been Gabe. This is still Jake. Switch Force out.